I never expected my life to change in a hospital ward that smelled of disinfectant and broken dreams. At 57, I thought I'd figured out my routine. Tuesday evenings at Mobile General, organizing donated quilts and blankets for patients who needed something soft in their hardest moments. "Emily, we have a new volunteer," announced Janet, the ward coordinator, her voice carrying that forced cheerfulness hospital staff perfect over decades. "Court-ordered community service." I looked up from folding a particularly worn patchwork quilt, my fingers automatically smoothing the frayed edges. That's when I saw her, blonde hair catching the harsh fluorescent lights, blue eyes scanning the room like she was calculating escape routes. Her leather jacket cost more than I spent on fabric in 3 months. "Cora Murphy," she said, extending a manicured hand. "I'm here to help kids, apparently." Her voice held an edge, like someone who'd spent years not trusting anyone. I shook her hand briefly, noting the calluses on her fingertips. Strange, for someone who dressed like money? "Emily Edwards. I restore textiles. Like old clothes? Like old lives, sometimes." 20 minutes later, I watched her struggle with a crying 6-year-old named Tommy. She stood there helplessly while he sobbed over a torn stuffed elephant, clearly out of her element. The kid's distress seemed to crack something in her tough exterior. "May the 1st?" I asked, settling beside Tommy on the floor. I pulled origami paper from my volunteer bag and began folding, my movements deliberate and calm. One fold, then another. Cora crouched down, watching intently. "It's called patience," I said softly, not looking at her. "Sometimes the most broken things just need gentle hands." The paper crane took shape between my fingers. Tommy's sobs quieted to sniffles. When I handed him the finished bird, his face lit up. "Can you teach me?" he asked. "Us," Cora corrected quietly. "Can you teach us?" Our fingers brushed as I guided their hands through the folds. For just a moment, the hospital noise faded. Her skin was warm, surprisingly soft. When she looked at me, something shifted in those calculating blue eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. I pulled my hands away, suddenly aware of how long we'd been touching. Everyone deserves something beautiful. She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Maybe kindness was foreign to her world, whatever that world was. As she walked away, I noticed her glance back twice. I had no idea I'd just met the woman who would turn my quiet life completely upside down. 3 weeks into our volunteer routine, I was organizing blankets when the hospital TV caught my attention. The news anchor's serious tone made me glance up from the linens I was sorting. The notorious hacker known as the Ghost has struck again, exposing pharmaceutical giant Meridian Corp's price manipulation scheme. Sources close to the FBI investigation suggest the perpetrator may be... My blood went cold. On screen was a surveillance photo, grainy but unmistakable. Blonde hair, sharp features. Cora. "Shit," I whispered, dropping the blanket. That evening, I waited in the parking lot. When Cora emerged from the hospital, I stepped from behind my car. "We need to talk." She froze, then slowly turned. "Emily, you seem upset." "The Ghost? Really?" Her shoulders sagged slightly. "You saw the news. 3 weeks. 3 weeks you've been lying to me." I never lied. I just didn't volunteer information. I crossed my arms. "Court-ordered community service for what, exactly?" Cora leaned against her motorcycle, looking suddenly vulnerable despite the tough exterior. "Exposing Meridian's insulin price fixing. Diabetic kids were dying because their families couldn't afford medication. So, you broke the law." "I broke their system. There's a difference." The parking lot lights cast harsh shadows across her face. Those pharmaceutical bastards were killing people for profit. Legal channels failed. Sometimes you have to fight dirty. Despite myself, I felt a pull toward her passion. And now? Now I fold origami with sick kids and pretend I don't want to hack the hospital's billing system. I stepped closer. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you look at broken things and see beauty. I break things on purpose. Maybe that's exactly what some things need." She studied my face. "You're not running away. Should I be?" "Most people do." The wind picked up, carrying the scent of her leather jacket and something floral underneath. Perfume, maybe, or shampoo. "I restore damaged textiles for a living, Cora. I know something about seeing past the surface. She moved closer, close enough that I could see the vulnerability she worked so hard to hide. What do you see when you look at me? Someone who fights for what matters. Her hand reached up, fingertips barely touching my cheek. Emily. The kiss happened so naturally I forgot to be surprised. Soft lips, gentle pressure. Nothing demanding or rushed, just honest. When we broke apart, she rested her forehead against mine. This complicates things, I whispered. Good things usually do. The next Saturday, Cora showed up at my textile restoration workshop unannounced. I heard her motorcycle roar to a stop outside my converted warehouse space, the sound echoing off the brick walls. This place is incredible, she said, stepping through the door. Her eyes swept over the rows of antique quilts hanging from ceiling tracks, the specialized lighting systems, the careful climate control. Welcome to my world. I was working on a Civil War-era coverlet. Its indigo dyes faded but still beautiful. Cora approached slowly, like she was entering a church. How do you know where to start? Same way you find vulnerabilities in code, I imagine. You look for patterns, weak points, then work systematically. She watched me work for an hour, asking thoughtful questions about fiber analysis and historical construction techniques. Her intelligence was obvious, but there was something deeper, respect for craftsmanship. Your turn to show me something, I said, setting down my tools. The following week, she brought her laptop to my workshop. I need better security for my volunteer coordination work. Help me understand what I'm building. We sat close at my desk, her fingers flying over the keyboard. I caught glimpses of code scrolling past, complex algorithms that meant nothing to me but clearly everything to her. It's like weaving, she explained. Each line connects to others, creating patterns. Break one thread wrong and everything unravels. Her concentration was beautiful. The way she bit her lower lip when thinking, how her eyes lit up solving problems. This was her art form. You're staring, she said without looking up. You're worth staring at. She turned to face me, our faces inches apart. Emily. Yes? I've been thinking about that kiss all week. Good thoughts? Dangerous thoughts. I reached up, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. I like dangerous. This time the kiss was deeper, more urgent. Her hand found the back of my neck, pulling me closer. I could taste mint on her lips, feel the rapid beat of her pulse. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her hands on my shoulders. I should probably go. Should you? If I stay, I'm going to want more than kissing. I looked into those blue eyes, seeing heat and uncertainty mixed together. What if I want more too? That evening, as winter darkness settled over Mobile, we found ourselves on my couch surrounded by half-finished restoration projects. The workshop's ambient lighting cast everything in warm gold. I haven't done this in a long time, she admitted quietly. Neither have I. Not since Sarah. I didn't ask who Sarah was. Not yet. Some stories needed time. Her lips found mine again, soft and questioning. I answered by deepening the kiss, letting my hands explore the curve of her waist through her sweater. She made a small sound against my mouth that sent heat straight through me. We moved slowly, carefully. Clothes disappeared gradually between kisses and whispered reassurances. Her skin was pale and perfect in the golden light. You're beautiful, I whispered against her neck. Later, tangled together under an antique quilt, she traced patterns on my arm. This changes everything, she said. I know. Are you scared? Terrified, I admitted. You? Same. But neither of us moved away. 2 weeks later, I decided it was time for Cora to meet my friends. The gallery opening seemed perfect, neutral territory where her sharp edges might blend with the artistic crowd. You sure about this? She asked, adjusting her black blazer for the third time. They'll love you. Margaret, my oldest friend and fellow artist, spotted us immediately. Emily, you look radiant. I felt Cora's hand find mine as I made introductions. Margaret, this is Cora. Cora, Margaret's been restoring paintings longer than I've been alive. Not quite that long, dear. Margaret laughed, but her eyes were already assessing Cora with maternal concern. When someone made a snide comment about computer people having no appreciation for real art, Cora's response was swift and cutting. Actually, digital restoration uses the same principles as traditional conservation. Both require understanding the original creator's intent and respecting historical integrity. She proceeded to discuss color theory and preservation techniques with such expertise that the snide commenter retreated. I squeezed her hand, proud. "She's formidable," Margaret whispered to me later, "and completely smitten with you." The following Friday, Cora brought me to her world. The underground tech meetup was held in a converted warehouse, very different from my gallery crowd. Young faces glowed in laptop light, energy crackling through conversations about encryption and digital privacy. "Ghost," someone called out. "Heard Meridian's stock tanked another 10%. Cora just smiled, but I could see others watching her with something approaching reverence. She wasn't just notorious, she was legendary. "This is Emily," she announced to her small circle. "She restores antique textiles." A young man with purple hair grinned. "Like actual fabric? With your hands?" "Revolutionary concept," I replied dryly, earning laughs. Watching Cora in her element was fascinating. She moved through the crowd like a queen holding court, but always kept me close. When someone got too intense about hacking ethics, she'd steer the conversation away, protecting me from her darker world. "They respect you," I observed during a quiet moment. "They fear what I represent. There's a difference." "What do you represent?" "Consequences." That weekend, she stayed at my cottage for the first time. Saturday morning found us in my kitchen, sunlight streaming through lace curtains as she made coffee with scientific precision. "Your place feels like a sanctuary," she said, bringing me a perfect cup. "It is. From the world, from expectations." She set her mug down and moved closer. "From people like me? Toward people like you." I pulled her into my arms, amazed how perfectly she fit against me. The kiss tasted like coffee and possibility. "I want to show you something," she murmured against my lips. We ended up in my bedroom, afternoon light filtering through antique lace. This time there was no hesitation, no careful exploration. We moved together with growing confidence, hands and mouths finding sensitive places that made the other gasp. Her skin was silk under my fingers, her response to my touch intoxicating. When she arched beneath me, whispering my name like a prayer, I felt powerful and cherished simultaneously. Later, she traced the quilt pattern covering us. "Did you make this?" "My grandmother did. Family heirloom." "I've never had anything like that." "Family legacy." I turned to face her fully. "You have me now." Her blue eyes grew bright. "Emily." "What?" "I think I'm falling in love with you." The words hung between us, fragile and precious. I reached up, touching her face gently. "Think?" "No, I know I'm falling in love with you." "Good," I whispered, "because I'm already there." The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, slipped under my workshop door like a snake seeking shadows. Plain white envelope, no return address, my name typed in standard font that revealed nothing. I almost threw it away with the junk mail. "Emily," it read, "your recent choices in companionship are concerning. The hacker you've been seen with brings danger. End this association immediately or face consequences." My hands shook as I read it twice, then a third time. Someone had been watching us, photographing us. 3 grainy pictures fell from the envelope, Cora and me leaving the hospital together, kissing in the gallery parking lot, entering my cottage. I called Cora immediately. "Someone's been following us." "I'll be right there." She arrived in 15 minutes, face grim as she examined the letter and photos. Her fingers traced the paper edges, checking watermarks and print quality with professional thoroughness. "This isn't random harassment," she said finally. "It's too organized, too specific. One of your enemies?" "Has to be. I've made plenty over the years." Within an hour, she'd installed new locks on my workshop and cottage, set up security cameras, and created what she called digital tripwires around my online presence. "We should stay at your place tonight," she suggested. "Multiple exit routes, better sightlines." "Cora, I won't live in fear." "Emily, you don't understand what people in my world are capable of." That night, despite the security measures, neither of us slept well. Every sound made us tense. Every shadow seemed threatening. I found myself questioning whether love was worth this level of danger. The second letter came Friday morning, this one taped to my workshop window. The glass had been smashed, jagged pieces scattered across my work table, dangerously close to a 19th century wedding dress I'd been restoring. Final warning, the note read. Stay away from the hacker or your precious workshop won't be the only thing that gets broken. This time, photos showed us at intimate moments, holding hands at the hospital, Cora's motorcycle parked outside my cottage overnight, us embracing in my workshop. Someone had been watching for weeks. I called Cora, my voice shaking. They broke my window. Pack a bag. You're staying with me until we figure this out. No. Emily, this isn't negotiable. Yes, it is. I swept glass carefully away from the vintage fabric. I won't be driven from my life by some coward who hides behind anonymous threats. Then we end this together. When she arrived, she was different, harder. The woman who folded origami with sick children had been replaced by someone calculating and dangerous. I've been thinking, she said, examining the broken window. This feels personal. Professional threats are usually more direct. Meaning, someone wants to hurt you specifically, using me as the weapon. She pulled out her laptop, fingers flying over keys. I'm going to trace the paper source, check surveillance footage from nearby businesses, cross-reference anyone who might have grudges against either of us. How long will that take? However long it takes. I watched her work, marveling at her transformation. This was the ghost in action, methodical and relentless. Despite my fear, I felt safer knowing she was fighting for us. Emily, she said without looking up from her screen. Yeah? I need you to know something. Whatever happens, whatever we discover, my feelings for you are real. This started as just another job, but somewhere along the way you became everything. What do you mean, another job? She went very still. Nothing. Poor choice of words. But something in her tone made my stomach clench. Cora, what aren't you telling me? Focus on staying safe. We'll figure everything else out later. As she dove back into her investigation, I couldn't shake the feeling that our anonymous tormentor wasn't the only one keeping secrets. Cora worked through the night, her laptop casting blue light across my cottage living room. I brought her coffee and watched lines of code scroll past at dizzying speed. Found something? She said at dawn, voice hoarse from exhaustion. The screen showed financial records, employment histories, criminal background checks. All connected to one name, Marcus Young. Marcus Young, former FBI Cybercrime Division, fired 3 years ago for conducting unauthorized surveillance on private citizens. My blood went cold. I know that name. Cora's head snapped up. What? Marcus was my business partner. Years ago, before I went solo. He handled the business side while I did the restoration work. What happened? He was stealing from clients, overcharging for services, using cheap materials while billing for premium ones. When I found out, I ended the partnership and reported him to the licensing board. Cora's fingers flew over the keyboard. That was 7 years ago, right before he joined the FBI. He blamed me for ruining his reputation in the art world. And I exposed his corruption at the bureau. Cora leaned back in her chair. Son of a bitch has been planning this for years. Planning what? Revenge. Against both of us. He must have orchestrated my community service assignment, made sure I'd be at the hospital where you volunteer. The implications hit me like ice water. You mean our meeting wasn't accidental? No. But everything that happened after was real, Emily. My feelings, what we have together, that's all real. I stood up, pacing to the window. Outside, Mobile was waking up. Normal people living normal lives without mysterious ex-partners orchestrating elaborate revenge schemes. So he's been manipulating us from the beginning. Manipulating the circumstances, not the emotions. Before I could respond, Cora's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and went pale. He's here, in Mobile. Just used a credit card at a hotel downtown. What do? We end this. She started packing her equipment with military precision. Marcus underestimated one thing. I'm not the same person who exposed him 3 years ago. I'm stronger now. Because of me? She stopped packing and looked at me directly. Because of us. Because for the first time in my life I have something worth protecting. An hour later, we were parked outside the Riverside Hotel. Cora had tracked Marcus's movements through traffic cameras and credit card purchases. He was staying in room 314. Let me go up alone, she said. No way. Emily, this man is dangerous. Unstable. He spent years planning this revenge. Then we face him together. She studied my face, seeing the determination I usually reserved for impossible restoration projects. You're sure? I've spent my whole life fixing broken things. Maybe it's time I helped break something that needed breaking. A smile crossed her lips. I love your logic. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Cora had her laptop. I had my phone ready to call 911. Neither of us knew exactly what we'd find. Marcus opened the door before we could knock. Mid-50s, graying hair, eyes that held too much intelligence and not enough sanity. Emily, my former partner, and the infamous ghost. Right on schedule. Hello, Marcus. He stepped aside, gesturing us into his hotel room. The walls were covered with photographs of us, timelines written in red marker, newspaper clippings about Cora's hacking exploits. Impressive work, Cora said, examining his obsessive documentation. How long did this take? 3 years of planning. Worth every minute to see you both squirm. What do you want? I asked. Justice. You destroyed my career, Emily. Cost me everything. And she, he pointed at Cora, finished the job. You destroyed your own career by being corrupt. I was creative with billing. She was a criminal. Cora laughed coldly. Says the man conducting illegal surveillance. Marcus's smile turned ugly. Prove it. Marcus gestured to a chair positioned opposite his makeshift command center. Maps, photos, surveillance equipment scattered across the hotel desk like a conspiracy theorist's fever dream. Sit down, ladies. Time for some truth. I remained standing, but Cora moved closer to his documentation wall. Her eyes scanned the timeline with professional interest. Impressive stalking operation, she said. Must have cost you everything. Worth every penny. Marcus pulled out a thick folder. See, I didn't just orchestrate your meeting. I've been manipulating both your lives for months. My stomach clenched. What do you mean? Your community service assignment wasn't random, Ghost. I have contacts in the judicial system. Made sure you'd be assigned to Mobile General, Tuesday evenings, pediatric ward. Cora went very still. You knew Emily volunteered there. I've been watching her for 2 years, waiting for the perfect weapon. The words hit me like physical blows. Weapon? Marcus smiled, enjoying our discomfort. You see, Emily, I needed something that would hurt you completely. Destroying your business wasn't enough. I needed to destroy your heart. Get to the point, Cora said coldly. The point is, darling Ghost, you were hired. Paid very well to seduce Emily Edwards and break her heart publicly. The room tilted. What? Marcus pulled out bank statements, email printouts, contracts. $50,000 transferred to an offshore account in your name. Payment for services rendered. I looked at Cora, searching her face for denial. Instead, I saw guilt. Emily, let me explain. It's true? My voice came out as a whisper. Initially, yes. But everything changed the moment I met you. The betrayal cut deeper than any anonymous threat. You were paid to seduce me. I was paid to get close to you, learn your vulnerabilities, then humiliate you publicly. But I never went through with it. Marcus laughed triumphantly. Except you did. You got close, learned her weaknesses, made her fall in love. The humiliation is happening right now. I backed toward the door, needing space to breathe. How long have you known Cora? About Marcus being behind it? Since last night. That's not what I'm asking. She closed her eyes. I've known it was a setup since our second week volunteering together. But you continued the charade. No. I fell in love with you. That was never part of any plan. Marcus clapped slowly. Beautiful performance. Really quite touching. Shut up, Cora snapped, but her attention stayed on me. Emily, please, let me explain properly. Explain what? That our entire relationship is built on lies? The beginning was a lie, everything else was real. I looked between them, two people who'd manipulated my life for their own purposes. Marcus for revenge, Cora for money. The volunteering, the hospital, our first conversation about patients and broken things. All calculated. The conversation was real. My response to you was real. But you knew why you were there. Cora nodded miserably. Yes. Marcus pulled out his phone. And now for the grand finale. I've been recording this entire conversation. Imagine how your artist friends will react when they learn their precious Emily was fooled by a paid escort. She's not an escort, I said sharply. Close enough. Paid companion hired to break your heart. I stared at Cora, seeing her differently now. The woman I'd fallen in love with, who'd made me feel beautiful and desired, had initially approached me as a job. Did you laugh about it? With your hacker friends? Never. Emily, I swear to you, the moment I kissed you, everything changed. Which kiss? The first one was part of the plan too, wasn't it? Her silence was answer enough. Get out. Emily. Both of you. Get out of my life. I walked toward the door, leaving them in Marcus's shrine to obsession and revenge. This isn't over, Marcus called after me. I turned back one last time. You're right, it's not over. It never started. None of it was real. Cora followed me into the hallway. Please don't do this. Do what? Finally see the truth? The truth is, I love you. The truth is, you're a liar. The elevator doors closed between us, and I descended alone, my heart breaking with each floor. For 3 days, I didn't answer my phone. Cora called 17 times, left voicemails I deleted without listening to. I threw myself into restoration work, focusing on an 1890s crazy quilt that required every ounce of my concentration. My workshop had become a fortress. New locks Cora installed, security cameras she'd set up, all reminders of how thoroughly she'd invaded my life under false pretenses. On Thursday evening, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Emily, it's Marcus. Go to hell. Wait, don't hang up. I have something you need to see. Despite every instinct screaming otherwise, I stayed on the line. Your girlfriend's been busy, breaking into police databases, federal systems, all to gather evidence against me. Former girlfriend. And, what's your point? My point is, she's risking federal prison to protect you. Seems genuine enough. The line went quiet except for his breathing. Meet me at Riverside Park in an hour. Come alone. Why would I do that? Because she's about to do something incredibly stupid, and you're the only one who can stop her. I found Marcus sitting on a bench near the river, looking older than his surveillance photos. He'd lost weight, developed nervous tics around his eyes. She's planning to confess, he said without preamble. To everything. The original hacking charges, the new federal crimes, all of it. In exchange for immunity for you. That makes no sense. She thinks I have enough evidence to implicate you as an accessory. Photos of you together during her investigation, records of her using your Wi-Fi network. My chest tightened. Do you? No. But she doesn't know that. Why are you telling me this? Marcus stared across the water. Because watching her sacrifice everything for you made me realize something. She really does love you. Since when do you care about love? Since I realized revenge tastes like shit when you actually get it. He pulled out an envelope. Everything I have on both of you. Photos, surveillance records, recordings. It's all here. What's the catch? No catch. I'm done. This whole thing consumed 3 years of my life, cost me my savings, my sanity. I just want it over. I took the envelope, surprised by its weight. What about justice? Your grand revenge? Justice would have been accepting responsibility for my own corruption years ago. An hour later, I found Cora at the FBI field office downtown, sitting in the parking lot staring at the building like it might swallow her whole. I knocked on her car window. She jumped, then rolled it down slowly. Emily, what are you doing here? Stopping you from making the stupidest decision of your life. I have to protect you. From what? Marcus gave me everything. Photos, recordings, evidence. It's over. Her eyes widened. He what? Turns out revenge isn't as satisfying as he imagined. I climbed into her passenger seat, close enough to smell her familiar perfume. You were really going to confess? Risk federal prison? Without hesitation. Why? Because I love you more than I fear prison. The raw honesty in her voice broke something loose in my chest. Cora, I know you can't forgive me. I know I destroyed everything good between us. But I needed you to be safe. I reached for her hand, interlacing our fingers. You incredible fool. Emily? Yes, what you did was unforgivable. The lies, the manipulation, all of it. She started to pull her hand away, but I held on. But watching you throw your life away to protect me? That's not something someone does for money. I love you. I know. Finally, I believe you know. I leaned across the center console and kissed her, tasting tears I wasn't sure belonged to her or me. When we broke apart, her forehead rested against mine. Can we try again? Honestly, this time? We'd better. After all this drama, we owe ourselves a real love story. She laughed, the sound like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Your place or mine? Mine. I have something to show you. That night, in my cottage bedroom, we made love with desperate honesty. No games, no hidden agendas, just two women finding each other again in the darkness. Marcus turned himself in the following Monday. His surveillance equipment, years of obsessive documentation, and recorded confession ensured federal charges that would keep him occupied for the foreseeable future. Sometimes the system actually works. Cora redirected her considerable skills toward cybersecurity consulting for nonprofits. Watching her use the same intensity that once made her notorious to protect vulnerable organizations was beautiful. She'd found a way to be the ghost for good. Edward's Textile Restoration and Digital Security, I said, answering our new business phone. Catchy name, Cora called from her corner office, now filled with servers and encryption equipment instead of stolen data. Our unlikely partnership thrived. I restored damaged history while she protected digital futures. Clients loved the comprehensive service, though most never understood how a textile artist and reformed hacker ended up together. 6 months after Marcus's arrest, Cora surprised me with dinner at the gallery where we'd first appeared together as a couple. Remember when Margaret said I was formidable? She asked over wine. And completely smitten with me. Still true on both counts. She reached into her jacket pocket, pulling out a small wooden box. Antique by the look of the hinges. Emily Edwards, you taught me that broken things can be made beautiful again, stronger than before. Inside the box was a ring. Not diamond, but something better. A vintage piece from the 1920s, Art Deco styling with intricate metalwork that had been carefully restored. It needed extensive repair work, she said nervously. Took me 3 months to find someone skilled enough to fix it properly. Cora, I know we can't legally marry in Alabama, but I want to promise you everything I have. My skills, my protection, my heart. I looked at this woman who'd entered my life through deception and stayed through choice. Yes. The ceremony happened in my workshop on New Year's Eve. Margaret officiated, our small circle of friends witnessed, and antique quilts provided the backdrop. Cora wore a midnight blue dress that matched her eyes. I chose ivory silk, restored from a 1942 wedding gown. Do you, Emily, take this reformed criminal as your partner? I take this brilliant woman as my everything. And do you, Cora, promise to use your powers for good and love? I promise to protect her, cherish her, and never lie to her again. We exchanged rings under quilts that had survived wars, witnessed generations of love stories, and now blessed ours. When we kissed, sealing promises that meant more than any legal document, the crowd cheered. Later, as guests mingled among restoration equipment and computer servers, Cora pulled me aside. Any regrets about how we started? I considered the question seriously. If we'd met normally, would we have fallen this hard? Probably not. You needed someone dangerous enough to crack your walls. I needed someone patient enough to see past my damage. Then no regrets. Just gratitude for the most beautifully complicated love story I've ever lived. She spun me around between the hanging quilts, both of us laughing like teenagers. What's next for us? Everything. We'll restore broken things, protect vulnerable people, and prove that the best love stories start with the worst beginnings. Outside, Mobile celebrated the new year with fireworks and champagne. Inside our workshop, surrounded by quilts that had witnessed decades of human stories, we began writing our own chapter of forever. Some threads, once woven together, create patterns strong enough to last lifetimes.